Your Majesty at your service. Welcome to Fair King Talks. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of my podcast, Taking Stock. Before I started to work in an office and learned all kinds of office jargon and phrases, I never heard of taking stock being relevant outside the world of retail. As I work in higher education, I have had the benefit of university closure days, and this year is extra special because my institution has decided to close for 2 weeks during the Christmas break. As we were close to approaching the Christmas break, my manager urged us to take stock of our outstanding actions and made sure we focused our time on delivering items that had to be done this year and revisit non-urgent things for the new year. On my last day of work, I redid this exercise and took the time to look over everything I had done since returning to work this summer after taking 9 months for maternity leave. As I'm a person who loves ticking boxes, my work diary/journal includes all of my business and actions from each and every meeting. I was glad to see that I ticked so many boxes. Some boxes were crossed out as things were changed and delivered in a different way, and a few things I've moved over to action in the new year. Having done this exercise has put my mind at ease, seen how much I actually had achieved, and given me a direction to look forward to in the new year. Having taken stock my outstanding actions at work led me to think about my personal goals and things I have set out to do this year. On this episode, I want us to reflect on all that we've done and achieved this year. I want us to clap for ourselves and take joy on all the great things that we have done and learned. I want us to reflect on what has been a crazy year before we enter Christmas and New Year's madness. I want us to be okay with not having done everything we set out to do and look forward to doing it next year. But I'll just start with just saying, well done. Well done for making it this far into this year. In January this year, we would have never foreseen the global pandemic, resurfacing of the Black Lives Matter movement, global turmoil, the US election results, and for us to be at home most of the time. As a world, regardless of the country that you live in, you've been through a lot, and perhaps many are still going through a lot. The Christmas period is not a time to turn a blind eye to what's happening in society, but for many, it's to take a break from reality and be with loved ones. Be proud that you've made it so far into this year, because so many have not made it due to different circumstances. I just want to honor the lives of those who sadly went before their time and send my love to the families and friends that stayed behind. Stay strong, whatever tragedies you have been through this year. Stay strong because you still have a purpose for your life. And stay strong for those who still need you today. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for being here. And for those of you who have been tuning in since season 1, thank you for being part of my queendom, supporting this podcast, and hopefully you are still tapping into your own greatness. As I take stock of what I've achieved by doing this podcast, I can share with you a few things. 1. This podcast has given me the confidence to put myself out there in this digital world in a way I have never done before. I've never had a problem to share pictures of my life on Instagram or Facebook, but to put my voice to the platform has been a long time coming. If you listen to previous episodes, you may already know that I've made several attempts to be on platforms such as YouTube, but for whatever reason, it never really worked out. Which, to be honest, is fine. I've had time to drill down the reason why, my reason why, to be on social media, and really think about how I would add value on such a saturated market. It was my conclusion earlier this year that podcasting would allow me to do this without a lot of added stress in my personal life. Point 2. This podcast had made me less nervous about living my truth and owning the person that I am and the life that I live. I am not a shy person, but I do shy away from showing my full self with others, and this podcast has helped me to open up about my different identities, thoughts, and ideas. It's been a great way to communicate the things that are on my mind in a concise manner without much waffling. Point 3. This podcast has proven to me that when you actually love to do something or believe in a project, you are willing to put in the hours day after day, even if the results aren't deemed to be successful in the eyes of others. Before starting this podcast, I told my husband that even if I just had one subscriber or one person listening, I would carry on doing it. Lo and behold, although numbers of this queendom may be few, I'm so humbled that you choose to tune in week after week, because I do this podcast thinking about you and wanting to add value in both of our lives. And point number 4, last but not least, this podcast inspires me to write and action my thoughts on a regular basis. Everything that pops into your mind is an inspiration that may be of value to you or someone else. I find that the things I talk about are timely in conversations with others and of real value to me. This is almost like an audio journal of my thoughts. These 4 points are just a few things I wanted to share with you, and hopefully you can start realizing what you have achieved by doing things in your life or actioning goals. Some say that life is a lesson. So what have you learned from your experiences this year? What have the outcomes been for you? How has what you have been through this year made you into a better person? Made you tap into your greatness? Made you make positive changes in your life? These are some of the questions I ask of myself. It's all fun and good to do this podcast, for example, but what are the lessons and learnings for me? Am I really adding value in the lives of others, or could I do more? My mum always says, sometimes we just have to be honest with ourselves and see what is working in our lives and what isn't. What is serving our lives and our purpose? What is good for us and what is adding unnecessary stress? It is with much pleasure that I can report to you that out of many things I've reflected on, this podcast is definitely going to continue, and I'm not going anywhere. So you can look forward to every Friday me posting something. What I would love, however, is to hear from you. So if you are a regular listener or this is your first time tuning in, let me know how this podcast is or isn't helpful to you. So you can email me on fairyqueendom@gmail.com or direct message me on Instagram. My handle is @fairyqueentatiana with an I. As you take stock of your past year or even your life, if you want to go there, you will gain an appreciation for each experience of your existence. Identify the lessons and learnings, and most of all, you'll be able to see how those experiences have served your existence for the good, even if it didn't feel good at the time. So, before you celebrate or not celebrate Christmas, and get a moment of your own, I urge you to take stock of your past year and congratulate yourself for everything. You've made it to the other side of 2020, and there's so much to look forward to. But we haven't left 2020 just yet, so stay present at this moment and take the time to reflect on all the things before you close this chapter of your life. At the end of each episode, I address the queendom. Taking stock of your past year is a chance for you to see the power of hindsight and perhaps use that knowledge for next year. It doesn't matter what you have or haven't achieved this year. What matters is what you have learned. Outstanding goals are not failures. Just take it to next year and be ready to adapt them. Thank you so much for listening to Fairy Queen Talks. See you next time.